Welcome to episode 2 of the third series, Old School. If you haven't had the chance to watch the first episode, I encourage you to watch it. That way you'll know where the title Old School comes from and where we're planning to go with this. The title for today's episode is You Are Not Cursed. You are not cursed. Every one of us, in one time or another, we go through a tough time. We go through a crisis in our life. And I would say that each crisis that we go through, it can be divided into three categories. It can be divided into health, finances, or loss. Health, finances, or loss. For example, you have struggles with mental health or with physical health. That is a health crisis. You have financial problems. That is a financial crisis. You lost your job, you lost a relationship, you lost a loved one. That is a loss crisis. Dealing with all of these crises can be something very difficult and it can be hard to deal with. But what happens when you're not dealing with one crisis, with two crises, but you're dealing with three crises at the same time? Now, if we're honest with one another, sometimes we can feel very overwhelmed when we're dealing with so many crises. And if we're even being more honest, when we're going through all of these, we tend to ask ourselves, what did I do to deserve this? Literally, what did I do to deserve this? Am I cursed? Did I do something wrong? Did I do something that I didn't know about? Like, why am I going through all of these things all at once? Sometimes we may even say, well, I must just have bad luck. I must draw negative attention, or I must be cursed. But there is one thing that brings me courage in moments that are very tough in my life, is to know that I am not cursed. This avalanche of crises that I am going through that has fallen upon me is not a curse. And I am not cursed, and I'm not living in a curse. When we look at the book of Job, chapter 1 and chapter 2, we see something very interesting, where Job goes through a triple crisis. The triple crisis Job is facing now, because he lost his riches, he lost his children, and now he has boils all over his body. Interesting. He loses his riches, he loses his children, and he has boils on his body. Now, without even reading the story, you will be like, wow, all of those three things, what did he do to deserve? He had to have done something to deserve this. Even his friends were like, hey, what happened? You had to have done something to deserve this. But when you start looking at the behind the scenes, you realize that Satan had asked permission to God. He had asked God for permission to attack Job, and God allowed it. God allowed for Satan to attack Job, even though Job had done nothing wrong. That's interesting. You see that God says, go ahead, you can touch him. Go ahead, you can attack him. But it's like Job hadn't done anything wrong. Job hadn't done anything wrong to anybody. But yet God gives him permission to attack him. See, now you may be feeling in this moment that you are in the middle of a crisis that has just taken over you. But let me tell you one thing. You are not cursed. You are en route to multiplication. I'm going to repeat that to you one more time. You are not cursed. You are en route to multiplication. Let me explain that for a second. See, now God being sovereign, he knows that Satan is going to ask to attack Job. And God tells him, Job chapter 1, verse 8. And it says, then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless, upright man who fears God and shuns evil? Now we jump to Job chapter 2, verse 3. It says, then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on earth, blameless, upright, one who fears God and shuns evil, and still holds fast to his integrity? This is powerful, because the enemy thinks that bringing all of these things to Job's life is going to make him fall into disgrace, is going to make him lose everything and never get back up. But the enemy thinks that that's what he's going to do. But if you go all the way to the end of the book of Job, you realize that the Lord lifts up Job even greater than before. He multiplies, he duplicates what Job had already had. So Job ends up coming out of that greater. So he was never cursed. He was actually on the route to multiplication. And that is powerful. The enemy thinks he's going to knock you down, But little does he know that you are on the route to multiplication. When you see what type of person Job was, it is powerful, because the way God is speaking of Job is amazing, because he says he is a person of good conduct, he shuns evil, and he fears God. See, when you are a person with this level of character, what you're going through is not your fault. You are not cursed. There's something powerful that's going to happen at the end of the crisis you're going through. Because see, when I think of this, I'm like, I am just in shock at the fact that Job is here on earth, God is in heaven, and God is talking to Satan about the kind of man that Job is. Imagine that he's having a conversation and he is listing the qualities of Job. Now, in Job chapter 2 that we had read, this is after he had already lost his riches and things. And God is still saying he is a man of integrity. He is a man that is still fearing the Lord and is believing the Lord. See, that is powerful, because it is hard to maintain our posture when we are going through such crisis and wondering, like, what did I do to deserve this? I remember a specific time in my life where I was going through a tough time, because I remember in this season of my life I was on fire. I was doing everything great. I was much younger, but I was praying. I was going to church hours earlier before service just to pray. I was constantly reading the Bible. I was plugged in. I was feeling good. And I remember that one morning I'm driving, and it had just snowed. And as I'm driving, my car it slips on ice, it twirls, and it lands on the side of the road, and I got hit by a car. And I remember the cop just asking, the cop got there and he goes, "What happened here? How did you come out of this?" And I'm like, at the moment I was so lost, and I was in pain because I just got hit and had slid, that I was like, I didn't know what to say. Then a few weeks later, I am preaching in Texas, and after the service, it was a late night service. I'm in a car, I'm in the passenger seat, and out of nowhere, a car comes out of the interstate and hits my side of the car. And once again, I come out of the car and I'm in pain, and I'm like, what is going on here? And the cop looks at me and goes, "Oh, how did you came out of this one?" And I'm just like, why? Like, I'm doing everything right. I'm seeking and I'm praying, but it seems like I am going through so much, and other people that aren't doing maybe as much, it seems like they're having success. What is going on? And I remember that through that whole process, I was, meditating, like, Lord, what is going on? And I remember the Lord speaking to me, and the Lord telling me, "Jason, maintain yourself aligned. Maintain yourself aligned." And those words stuck with me. That no matter what I was going through, no matter what I was dealing with, I need to maintain myself aligned, because the outcome of all of this was going to be a powerful one where God was going to get the glory. Now, I know you have felt like this sometimes, where you're going through so much and things do not seem to be working out for you. But I'm going to tell you this, the same thing that the Lord told me. Maintain yourself aligned. Maintain yourself aligned, because this is not a curse. This is not a curse. You are en route to multiplication. It's awesome when you see the way that the Lord was speaking about Job, and how the people around realized who Job was. The Lord exposed Job to his wife. In the midst of everything, Job showed his character. To his friends, Job showed his character. And above all, to the enemy, because the enemy thought that Job was going to give in to the pressure. He thought that Job was going to be in disgrace, and the enemy thought that he had found the perfect strategy to destroy Job. But in the midst of all of that, Job maintained himself connected to God and anchored to God, to where what the enemy had thought was going to happen did not end up happening. Actually, the opposite. There was multiplication for his life. He was blessed in even greater measure than before. Job was a man of integrity, and the enemy realized that it did not matter what was going on. Job was going to maintain himself anchored to the Lord. Isn't it powerful to think that the Lord is talking about you? That the Lord is saying, "Look at my servant down here. Enemy, you can touch her, You can attack her. But I know that she is not going to give up. I know that he is not going to give up. I know he's going to maintain himself anchored to me. That is powerful stuff. And God is speaking about you in the heavens. And this is what encourages me about all of this. That no matter what the enemy threw at Job, and no matter everything he went through, at the end, it all worked out and God received the glory. He was not cursed. He was en route to multiplication. Now you may be feeling at this moment that you are sinking in a crisis. And you're asking yourself, where did all of this come from? What did I do? Am I being cursed? I come to tell you, and I firmly tell you, you are not cursed. But maybe, just maybe in the midst of all of that, what you feel is a curse. You could be on the route to multiplication. You could be on the route to receiving a double portion. So I encourage you, wherever you are at right now in your life, maintain yourself aligned because you are not cursed. You are en route to multiplication. God bless you, and we'll see you next week.